welcome to this week's vlog, where we're going to be looking at newsletters and how you can generate impact from a project or thematic or some other kind of newsletter linked to your research. So newsletters are growing in popularity. I think I and many others have discovered that it doesn't really matter how big your social media following is if you don't get engagement. And I find that newsletters often get me way better engagement than anything else. They also have this added bonus that as academics we often work on projects, so we may be very intensely working on one topic area for a few years on a project, and then we don't have any funding, so we're in limbo before the next project comes along. And this is a great way, I find, of retaining warm contact and connection with the people who might be interested in that research area, so that when you're ready for the new project, you can go back and re-engage, rekindle those relationships very, very easily. So I'm going to give you a few things that you need to ideally get right if you want to write a really persuasive, engaging newsletter that people read, want to read, look forward to every month, ideally, and that then can actually drive impact for your research. I'll maybe give you a few examples at the end if we've got time as well. So the first thing is you need to have a clear goal. Why is it that I'm thinking about doing a newsletter? I'm not just jumping on a bandwagon, but is it because I want to retain that warmth of connection between projects? Is it a specific goal that I need to be able to reach out to engage with this community of people if they are to benefit from the research in these ways, and a newsletter is the best way to get that engagement, then turn that online engagement into offline engagement. They're coming to a workshop, they're meeting with me or whatever. So have a reason, don't just do it. The second point then is that you need to know your audience and know what they want. We've all got email newsletters that drop into our inbox that we just press delete on every time they appear because we can't be bothered to unsubscribe. Let's be honest here. And partly this is the email title. Can you make this a bit more exciting than just the newsletter? But also it's about the content. Do you create anticipation that, wow, last time I read this, it was really worth my while? And there's a few newsletters that I engage with where I look forward, and each time I make sure I save that email, I come back to it and I read everything that is in there to make sure I've not missed everything. That's partly about researching your audience. You can do that very effectively on social media. Just engage with those debates, those discussions, find out what people are talking about, what they're interested in. But ideally, if this is part of a pathway to impact, you are engaging with them face to face, and you know the kind of things that get them upset, get them concerned, get them inspired, passionate, that you can engage with in terms of your content. The third thing that you need to do is to track your progress. So newsletters, if you use software, I use MailChimp, lots of others out there, they can enable you to track your links. Now I can see which of those newsletter items people actually clicked on. And I get a sense of, right, well, those kind of things seem to typically do well, and these things tend not to do well. People are not enjoying that, they're not getting value from that. So let's start refining my practice and prioritizing the things that I know are actually working for people. So I'm refining my knowledge of my audience and getting my content increasingly honed. The next thing is around headlines. I'm assuming now that I've got some good content. It's something that is worth reading, and clearly if I haven't got anything worth saying, let's just skip a month and wait until I have got something that is worth saying. But can I now create some shortcuts so people can instantly scan through and with bold, or with the headlines are underlined in the text, or actual headlines, and it's a proper newsletter in the traditional sense. I can scan through and that's interesting, great. I save people time and I make it clear it's worth holding on to this, coming back to it later, and I increase engagement just by writing some good headlines, assuming I've got some good content. I think there's a balance when it comes to content. Too much and whoa, okay, I can't even be bothered reading it because it's just too intimidating. Too little and there's not enough value. So there's a balance thing there. And I think in general, as a rule, maybe number 4 here, let's go for short and regular, rather than once every 6 months and loads and loads and loads of stuff, because I'm trying to keep this idea that, hey, I'm here. And it's worth remembering, and even if it just so happens that one month I end up on a very busy day for someone, maybe next month I arrive in a better day. So I just increase the likelihood that people understand I'm here, this is worth engaging with, and the chances that at least some of these get opened and engaged with. Then final thing is to just make this look nice. And I think there's a very different approach you can take to this. So the traditional approach is I have a beautiful template. So things like MailChimp will give you these lovely templates. For me, the problem with that is if people aren't reading their emails in HTML, so it's text only, then it looks a real mess. And also there's something about authenticity here. So for a project newsletter, great, let's go with this. Actually, this is about I'm credible, I'm professional, and this is a really nice looking professional template. You can also take the more personal approach. Now, there's a whole lot of American companies that do this in a really cringy kind of way. And yeah, you sign up for their newsletter and you're getting daily emails with this really personable, hey, I'm your friend kind of thing. And yeah, I'm not into that. But for the Fast Track Impact newsletter, I try to do this more personable approach without going too cheesy. I hope I'll let you be the judge of that. And this is about building relationship and being more authentic. And so it looks like an email. You got my email signature on the bottom of it. It's bullet pointed text, and that's designed to just build relationship and make this easy, but not kind of too slick kind of looking. That's the theory. So I'll have a quick look at some examples. I filled out 3 that I have engaged with or am involved with. So the first of these, I'm going to go with a project example. So this is now the SoilCare project. So you may recognize this from my podcast. I interviewed a couple of my colleagues, in fact Jane Mills, who is behind this particular newsletter, and you can see here it's a template. You've got the European logo at the top. This is a European project. There's credibility. It's slick, it's professional, brilliant. And there's a new report, and crucially there's a summary of the report. You don't have to read the whole thing. Every month there's a different field site that is featured with photographs, and so the sites get to learn from each other, but then other people who are reading this, and the main target audience is farmers in this case, who've got similar sites, get a sense. In fact, 2 sites in this particular one. Then we've got a new booklet for farmers, and again you can see the summary and the films, and we've got new articles at the bottom. Great. In every case, there are 2 levels. I can read this and understand this at the level of what is in the email, and I learn something about the project. It keeps that level of engagement, but for the ones that I want to, I can click on the read more, and away we go. So this is the RELU newsletter, Rural Economy and Land Use Programme, and this gives you a sense of what you can do legacy-wise. So this was a research programme. It ended a number of years ago now, and the newsletter continued. So they had 2,000 to 3,000 people on this list. It was really a valued resource by the community. Project came to an end. One of the universities who was involved said, hey, let's just keep this going, and anyone in this community of people who wants to submit their news, we'll send an email out every month, and if you've got some news, let's put this together. And so this has continued for years after the program ended. And looking at this again, we've got the recognizable original header. Although the project doesn't exist in its original form, we recognize, oh yeah, I remember this from years ago, and it's still just as good as it always was. We've got a contents at the top, so this is quite a nice device. In this case, it's not hyperlinked. It would be quite handy if it was, but I'm instantly thinking, right, so I can scan through everything in 10 seconds now. Is this newsletter useful to me? 2 or 3 of those they are. I'm scanning down to the relevant bit. And you can then see as you scan down, they're quite short, but with links again. So this has got 3 levels now. I've got the summary of key points at the top, and then I've got the short version, and then I can click on the read more type thing. But in this case, it's not just read more. In each of these, there are multiple things headlined in here. so I can click on different policy briefs or documents that might underpin this. Great. So one final one then is my own one. I had to put this in here sneakily. So this is the Fast Track Impact one. So just go to fasttrackimpact.com/contact, or it's in the footer of every page of my website if you want to subscribe to this. And I've got a wee introduction, but you can see instantly this is formatted as an email, and there are lots of links. And so in this case, I've got this by heading, so I can scan down and generating impact and research on impact, research funding. Yeah, I'm looking for funding. Okay, here's some interesting tips if I want to apply for that particular fund. Lots of links to resources, blogs, vlogs, podcasts, and stuff, not only by me, but by other people as well. So I think it's important, even in a project newsletter, that, yeah, this is our project, this is what we're doing, but if there is other major stuff going on, there's been some landmark report or publication, I'm writing about that as well. So this is actually news and of broader value than just my project, especially if my project is early stage. There's not that much useful to stay. This one, yeah, maybe it's a bit longer than it should have been. Maybe a lesson for me to take there, but you can see at the end, this is just my email, and you can see how to unsubscribe at the bottom. So 3 examples, and in each case quite different audiences, different approaches, templates to this. You can see there's a very different feel to these. But ultimately a really great way of engaging. It doesn't take that long if you're engaged with your project to just extract a few of the things out of your meetings and activities, things that you've been up to, and just put them into a newsletter. I often go through Twitter, so I've got quite a live Twitter feed on Fast Track Impact, and I'll go through what are the top things that I've been tweeting about or that I've seen and retweeted through Twitter in the last month. So create a newsletter if this is something that you think could get you impact, and only if you think there is an actual real reason for doing this. Make sure you know who you're actually working with so you can generate something of genuine you, and actually you may be surprised at the level of engagement you get.